Live, you're live with the live. What's the deal, my people? You know what it is, Don Tony Teflon, and I'm chilling with my man, the one, the only, Phil, the issues guy. Phil, we know we haven't chopped it up in a long time, baby.
I know, Tony. Except for I think I hijacked one of your streams, myself and the Lord Commander there. We hijacked one of your streams late night. I'm sorry, I'm still half asleep and I'm not quite awake, and I've already had a half a drink, so I'm all fucked up, Tony. It's great to be
here. We're treating this like like Sunday, it's a football Sunday, man. 1 o'clock, you can do what you want, That's just the way it goes and stuff like that. So we gonna talk a little bit, me and Phil, because we're gonna wait for people to get up in here and stuff. I do see a few people up in the chat right now, but once we go live, then usually YouTube, does all the alerts and stuff like that. So Phil, you told me that you would do it, and this is going to be a stream about Ned Stark. I know last time I did it, it got a little off base and stuff, but we are doing this stream about Ned Stark without a doubt. So Phil, you said that you were dabbling in the arts of acting.
Oh, yes. I feel like if I talk enough shit about actors, I need to try it once in a while. But I got cast in a local community theater play, in a play called I Hate Hamlet. So I'm last couple of months, if I've been a little absent from the YouTube, it's because I've been attempting to memorize lines. And when you smoke as much, when you do enough hippie activities as I do, memorization isn't what it used to be 10 years ago, but it's going up in January, on January 10th. It's the play is called I Hate Hamlet. If anyone's ever seen it, it's about a television actor that gets haunted by a ghost of an older actor and convinced to play Hamlet. It's a comedy, it's over the top, it's silly, and yes, I'm acting. I'm not very good, Tony, but I'm doing it.
Are you the lead role in this?
Yeah, myself and the guy that plays Barrymore are combo lead roles. Yes, but nice. I'm basically on stage for the whole 2 hours. I don't leave the stage.
Is there any way we can get some footage of this?
Well, let me see how the first production goes, see how shitty it is. But basically, what I want to do is I want to record it and then come on here and review myself in a horrible way. But yes, potentially there will be footage of this, and obviously anyone that lives in the Boston area, as I know there are some, it goes up in Marblehead on January 10th is the opening night, and then it's 12 shows. It's a Friday night, then 2 Saturdays, a Sunday for 3 weeks in a row. So there's 12 performances, and hopefully someone will get some recording of it. At least there's a fencing match in it where I'm having to learn Princess Bride like fencing tactics, except I'm not quite as good. But that's interesting. It's interesting to do that when you're as uncoordinated and clumsy as I, Tony. It's great. I feel bad for the other actor that has to deal with me swinging a fucking sword at his head. Like, fuck you, I'm Arthur Dane, motherfucker.
We have all had pieces of branches that were lightsabers growing up. Yep. We have all practiced, so it's ready for this. Been ready for this. You've been ready for this role for a long time. I think one time, real quick, I was in a professional wrestling match, and I was doing that with professional wrestling. And then when they got in the ring and I started doing stuff, and they were like, "Wow, you've never done this before?" I said, "I've been practicing jumping off of dresses, elbow dropping my whole life."
Professional wrestling, all whatever aside, is theater. It is essentially live theater. And I think really what happened, Tony, and I think you deal with this as well. You performed a lot in your life in front of live crowds, and you get that feeling. It's so awesome to be able to do this YouTube stuff and talk to live audiences, live motherfucking chats. But also, like, when you do the conventions and you're on stage in front of people that are right there in front of you, you start to get that feeling again. Like when you're a musician, when you're playing in front of a crowd, or when you're doing like theater or comedy or something in front of people. In doing the like Con of Thrones stuff, it kind of made me feel that feeling again. Like I want to perform more in front of a live crowd. So that's why I kind of stuck my dick in this. And whether it gets cut by the cheese grater of people watching or not, it's, I have enough things I'm pretty good at, that I have talents at. If this is just something that I'm, kind of pussyfooting around and not necessarily amazing, it's all right. It's fun. It's hard work. It's, I'm good at playing me, Tony, but I'm not good at playing someone else sometimes. It's tough. It's tough to not be someone else.
I understand exactly what you're saying. This YouTube thing does prepare you for a lot of different things. A lot of it helps you out when you just talking in general in public. So I'm sure you're very good. We can't wait to see what we can see. Let's say what up to the people up in the chat. We got right now we got Chrissy of Old Stones, always rocking with the Don Tony Teflons up in the building. You got Georgia Jedi is up in the building, just came in here. Peter Griffin is up here chilling. We got Lady Laura Dane of Starform is up in here. But right now, let's go through. We go back. We got Bernie L.
Oh,
is
Bernie.
in the building. Bernie the hater L. Bernie always be hating on me. Catherine is up in the building, rocking. See, this is the one thing I like about this stream, y'all. When you see it, because you can see the pictures of the person and see exactly how beautiful these women are. You know, we got Sarah K up in the building, rocking with us right now. You know what I mean? We got a bunch of people up in here. There are more. We got Sir LT John. Now, Sir LT don't come out for everybody. You know, he don't be out here for everybody. It's just a blessing. You got Sir LT Giles up in the building and stuff like that. John Haymaker has been here since the show has started, rocking with us and everything else. So what up for everybody up in here? Adrian G, we get out you real quick. He's up in the building. So what this is going to be is a Ned Stark stream. Now, we have always heard things about Ned Stark, the honorable Ned Stark. That's what we're led to believe about this character. So what we're going to break down is Ned Stark as honorable as his reputation goes for. So, Phil, this initial thoughts before we go into these clips and stuff. Do you think that Ned Stark is as honorable as he is put out there for us?
I don't know. I'm maybe as honorable in what he defines honorable, but he's not as honest. He's not as honest as people think he is. Because in so many situations, thinking about doing this stream, I started asking myself questions being at the end of it when we know everything. Did Ned Stark even have a woman? And did he lie to Robert that whole time? But did Wyla or whatever her name was, did she really exist? Or was she just some woman he stayed in a room, paid her $20 to make him dinner or something like that? Did he ever actually do that, or was that all part of the plan? Do I think he's as honorable as is speculated? I think he believes in whatever sense of honor that he defines, whether that's right, whether that's true, whether that's always the right decision in every moment. That's kind of what I'm looking at in this. Mm-hmm. I don't think it is. If I'm just speculating right now, I think his honor, or that honor, is just another bullshit excuse to make bad decisions in some ways. Yes, you can have honor, but it's always best, at least in my mind, to make the best decision for yourself and your family in each moment. And I think, unfortunately, Tony, he doesn't always do that. And I think that's based around sometimes by the doctrine of his honor. And this isn't any way to attack anyone that believes in anything, but sometimes believing in something can cause you to make poor decisions, if that makes sense. And like, because you believe so much in, I believe my group of friends, I'm going to do whatever they want, so I'm going to break into a second story and end up in fucking jail. But no, you should make the best decision that's for yourself. And I've tried to do that in my life, and it doesn't always make you a popular person. It doesn't always make you the right person or all those things, but I think sometimes honor isn't the best decision, and Ned made some mistakes. I know that's a long answer to a simple question, but
no, it's a very good answer. I heard a lot of times, I've seen someone put in the chat, are we Ned Stark batch? It's not Ned Stark batch. I'm just trying to be honest. I understand that certain people, they have, they're fans of certain people, this, that, and the other and everything. But, we're not bashing anyone. What we're trying to say is that we're trying to get to an honest conclusion about Ned Stark. And is he the character that the people put forth? It's not bashing anyone. We're just telling the truth. And if that's just too hard for you, then I'm sorry. But that is what it is. All right, so let's take a look at this first clip, and we'll see where it goes. All right, so we hear right here Rob Baratheon telling Ned Stark that he's a very loyal friend, the last friend that he said he has. Now, is that true, Phil? Is he really a loyal friend to Robert Baratheon? Do you feel that he's loyal when he says this to him, or has Robert got a different sense of Ned than what Ned truly is? You muted.
I'm going to answer every question like an asshole, because I think in some ways both. I think he does care about Robert, but he also cares about Jon more, obviously, or Lyanna more, because he's lying to him this whole fucking time about the situation. Also, when it comes to really really connecting with Robert. Once he sees that Robert's fat and he's not the man he thought he could be, he isn't very honest to Robert in every situation that he could be. He kind of just second guesses him. When we get to the Daenerys situation, for instance, where Robert, I want to kill Dany, blah, 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 blah. Instead of maybe taking him aside and not embarrassing him in front of a group of people, he attacks him in that public situation and says, no, we're not killing kids. Fuck you, Robert. And he almost embarrasses him a little bit and humiliates Robert to a certain extent. And do I think he's really a friend to Robert? No, I think he cares about Robert, but I don't think, and people are going to hate me for this shit, I don't think being a friend is the sense of thinking about all of Robert's best interests. And even when we get to the point later when he makes a decision about not telling Robert about the Joffrey and the Cersei situation, he's doing it to protect his feelings. Is he doing it, or is he doing it to protect himself from having an uncomfortable moment? I don't know. When you're a friend to somebody, don't you make sure they know the truth at all times? Don't you make sure you put them in the best position possible? I think in some ways he decides to stay with Robert because of the Lannisters and because of his anger towards the Lannisters about what they could have done to Bran or done to Jon Arryn. I don't think he goes with Robert necessarily because of friendship. Does he care about him? Yes. Is he the best friend? I don't know, Tony.
Yeah, I would say no, because he didn't even want to do this, right? He had to be convinced to go down there. So it was really, it was great in the show. It's great. It's the Maester that convinces him to go. He was trying to stay back. So if he was really this friend that Robert thought he was, he would have went right down there. But the fact that he truly didn't want to go down there at all, he had to be convinced to go down there, makes me think that Robert has a different thoughts about Ned than Ned really truly has what's going on. I think that, Ned's really just, I ain't gonna say he's greedy or just thinking about himself or his family, but I think he's kind of lazy at this point in his life. They, the shot that they show him before, you see him laying in bed with Catelyn underneath the blankets. And, I think that's where he's at in his life at this particular time. He just likes laying in the blankets with his wife and just being there. And he wasn't thinking about trying, because if you were really that friend, you don't go 8 years without seeing somebody.
No. Do you know who you do go 8 years without seeing sometimes is your brother, because you can love your family. And that's what I mean where I say he loves Robert. Robert is his brother. Don't get me twisted here in the sense of that he doesn't care about Robert. To people like, what are you saying? But I think to Tony's point, to be a friend, you want to see a friend. You want to be interacting with a friend. Ned at this point is not retired, but he's gone up north. He's hanging with his family. And to go to another one of Tony's points about Robert's perspective about the situation, we all know after, at the end of the series now, how off Robert was about his situation with Lyanna. He convinced himself Lyanna loves him. Robert has a habit of projecting feelings and projecting thoughts on people because he thinks in a lot of simplistic terms. I eat, I fuck, I fight. That's what I do. Ned loves me. He's my brother. Bring him here. And Ned is his brother. But your question was, is he truly his friend? I think Ned is Catelyn's friend at this point. Ned is his children's friend in a sense that almost no other father in Westeros is like. But is Ned the best friend he could be to Robert? No. As you pointed out, the Maester needed to push him into it. Catelyn and the Maester needed to double team Ned to get him to go. And it was all because more, again, of Jon Arryn and Bran more Jon Arryn than Bran. Bran kind of made him think about staying again. But it really was all of that, not because of his friendship for Robert. If anything, it was because of his honor towards Robert, which again is something different.
All right, let me address this one question here by Sarah K. Says Ned was keeping the peace in the North those 8 years, right? I don't think he was doing it. I think he was doing it more for himself. I don't know if you could say he was keeping the peace for Robert Baratheon. I think you could say he's keeping the peace in the North because he lived in the North and he was the Lord of Winterfell, and keeping the peace is beneficial to him more than beneficial to Robert. So I don't know if I would agree with saying that he was doing it for Robert, if that's what you're trying to say, Sarah. I'm saying, yes, he was keeping the peace, but I think he was doing it more for himself. What do you think about that, Phil?
Yeah, and I think it's a sense of, was he keeping the North together because people had respect for Ned Stark and his family, or was it because of anything Ned was really doing? I know we saw Ned kind of handle the business at the beginning with the escaped Night's Watchmen, but essentially isn't the North, even if you have a Lord of the North, it's different than the rest of the realm in the sense that each kind of stronghold really governs themselves. And Ned, it's so far apart, it's so big that Ned doesn't really control things in a micromanaging kind of way. Yes, he kept peace, but the honor for Ned Stark kept peace more than Ned did a lot in that role. I mean, he fought wars, he won it, but it was that respect that the North had for him that kept everything together. And that's part of the reason why it fell apart when the Starks fell out of power and kind of came back together when the Starks got in power again. It's a sense that every family, even the ones that hate the Starks or have problems with the Starks because of their rigid nature, they still have a respect. If you think that the Boltons, when the Boltons took charge in the show anyways, Ned's bones made it back and were allowed to be buried there, even through Theon's situation and through the Boltons. They didn't destroy the tombs of the Starks, because even in the fucked up way that the Boltons have, they had some sort of respect for the Starks. It's everybody in the North had that respect. And I think that's what held it together more than anything Ned actively did within the North. Maybe I just don't know enough about that time period and all the things that Ned did. Maybe I could be completely wrong, and I just don't know what Ned did. But
no, I think you're right on that. I think you're 100% right. I think those reasons are valid. Thank you for the super chat, Catherine. Much appreciated. We love super chats here. We are going. We got KC says that she agrees with you, Phil, and I agree 100% with you too. And nice hair, Catherine. That does match your hair very well. All right, we're going to go to the next clip real quick and take a look at this moment from Ned Stark.
People are saying in the live chat that they can't hear the sound. But what's funny is I bet most of you Game of Thrones fans could narrate that, could fill in the audio for what's going on in most of those scenes.
All right, so we know what goes on here in this scene right now. I don't know why you can't hear the audio. You should be able to hear the audio. Maybe I got to turn it up or something like that. But if I start pressing buttons, anything is possible. So I'm not gonna. All right, but we'll see if we can get that fixed. Every other time I've done it, the audio's come through. All right. Oh, as they say, LT is saying this is very low. All right, so maybe it's just picking it up through my microphone for some reason and not picking it up through the system. I'm going to turn the volume up right there, so hopefully that gets me going right there. All right. So is Ned Stark right at this particular time? Was he right to behead this Night's Watchman in the manner that he beheaded this Night's Watchman? I mean, basically, disregarded everything that guy had to say. It seemed like before he got there, he had made up his mind that I'm going to kill this man no matter what comes out of his mouth. So do you feel that Ned was right for killing this Night's Watchman?
This is so difficult to say because we know what happens eventually. We know that what he's telling is the truth, but that stuff hasn't been seen or heard about in that area for a long time. And in the context that it was, this is so tough, Tony, because I'm trying not to be result-oriented thinking and thinking about, just like we're going into this, what something Tony said at the beginning. We all have our favorites. We know Tony loves Stannis. We know I love Jaime. We know we have certain allegiances in this Game of Thrones. It's part of what makes it such an amazing thing to talk about, because whatever it is, similar to Harry Potter in the sense where you relate to a house, you relate to a family in Game of Thrones, and you kind of get all over it, and you have house allegiance and all that. So I'm trying not to think about it like that. I'm also trying not to think about the decision, what we know after the fact that we know more than Ned does here. Was Ned was by right doing what is his job as as Warden of the North? Should he have taken a little bit more knowledge, understanding of what he have done, maybe send his own Stark soldiers up past the wall to kind of investigate this, or talk to Benjen about what he saw? Maybe he did and we didn't see that. I think he did the right thing, but he should have followed up on it differently. I think he had to do that by it's his job. It's his motherfucking job. He has to do that. But I think, to your point, Tony, he should have listened to him more, and he should have taken that opportunity to maybe have a meeting with some of the Night's Watchmen that he has a good in with, and have them sent out to investigate. Is there anything, talk to the old bear, be like, is there anything to all of this? It seemed like the Night's Watch didn't realize the White Walkers or really understand that until Jon was up there and he killed one that was trying to kill Mormon. Like, it seemed like there should have been more communication about all of this, because it's not like we live in a world where, I guess it would be akin to if the dinosaurs came back. If I was like, Tony, there's a fucking there's a brontosaurus trying to eat my ass, and I can't do anything about it. I'm sorry I broke into your house in the middle of the night and stole your shit, but I need to get money to get out of here. You'd be like, fuck you, I'm fucking bang, you're fucking dead, get the fuck out of my house.
I hear everything you're saying there. We do have bones of these creatures, though, which is something they don't have. So it may be a little bit more inclined to believe that would happen. I still would have to say that he seemed very resolved to kill, because all the information he had at that point was, we have a deserter from the Night's Watch. All right, everybody, grab your stuff. Bring me Bran. I'm going to execute him in front. I think he was doing it more to do it for Bran. Like, I'm going to take this man's life in front of Bran, because Bran needs to know what it's like for me to see him execute somebody. Like, it was like, oh, it's a perfect opportunity for me to bring Bran. I can kill somebody. That's what I'm looking at when I said, I think that if he really cared, he would have notified the Night's Watchmen first, and then after notifying them, said, hey, we have somebody down here from the Night's Watch. Is he a deserter? Is he on a mission for you guys? Well, we don't know what he's at. And then waited for, now maybe Lord Commander Mormont would have said, he is, kill him then. And then, but it just seemed like, though he is the Warden of the North and he has the power to do it, I just think that he became the executioner a little bit too fast in that situation.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I agree with you that he had made the decision before he had gone down there. He knew what he was going to do. Because I think Ned, in a sense, even though sometimes it gets talked about that Ned has a respect, or the Stark family has a respect for the Night's Watch, you hear, again, a lot more, an expression I haven't said in a while, a lot more in the books, but you understand how much assumptions and disrespect in the realm that there is for the Night's Watch at that point. It's a prison colony, and this is just also, Ned thinks of this person as just whatever this person did to get on the Night's Watch too. He's an unhonorable man, and it's lying to me now. And but again, that's a lot of prejudging, and that's a lot of, he went into that situation not giving a shit. That guy could have said, anything to him. He could have said, Arthur Dane's alive and he's outside. He wants to talk to you. Or, there's nothing that guy could have said that would have made a difference. And yes, I know brontosaurus are plant eaters. That's why I said eat my ass instead of eat me, because I realized I was fucked in that as I was going. And yes, Casey, atheist, I fucked that up.
Well, I would say that, when dealing with this, but when Bran said something to him about the White Walkers, he doesn't dismiss it, right? He thinks for a second. If you look at the scene, he goes, the White Walkers haven't been around for all these years. Now, their motto was winter is coming. I would have to believe that he would know that winter means the White Walkers are coming.
Right. Absolutely. I was just going to say that, Tony, is that the ultimate meaning of winter is coming isn't just that the season of winter is coming, isn't just that death is coming. It's that eventually the White Walkers will always come back, right? In this world, that even after the stopping them for this time, the Night King will find another way at some point, another 1,000 years from now. I don't think this is something that ever stops. It's the cycle of this world. I mean, maybe I'm wrong or something, but that's what I think. The Starks have been around so long, almost since the first men, or the first connected to that. They know this world more than some of the other houses do, in a sense of the history of it and the repetition. But like the telephone game, sayings and things through time get told and they lose their meaning. And very rarely do people understand the power that the past can have. And I think the past is the White Walkers. And I think that's what's so interesting about the place that we come in at the beginning of a Game of Thrones and where we are from Ned's perspective, who's someone that does believe in history and even he doesn't believe this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And
go ahead.
No, that's it. And even he doesn't believe it's possible. And I think that's it's very interesting, because wouldn't Ned be open to this to a certain extent? Wouldn't all the Starks have some sort of understanding about this in a sense that they don't? Or do they just really look at this as old Nan's silly stories?
Yeah, but out of all the excuses you can make for deserting them, right? The one Night's Watch. And maybe he's ran into deserters before. We don't know that. And maybe he's done this before. But I'm sure no one's ever came up with the hey, the White Walkers is why I ran away.
Yeah.
I don't think he's heard that every day. In fact, that someone said that. Maybe just take pause, I would think. Maybe he should have took a little pause here. You know what I mean?
Do you think at this point in time, some of the Rangers, all the Rangers really know at this point? I don't want to get off topic of Ned Stark too much, but at this point, all of the Rangers at least know that the wildlings are on the move, right? I mean, they haven't seen anything except for these 3 people that we see in the prologue, but for the most part, we know that the Rangers know that, because I think Benjen says something about it later in the season or later in the book, that all the wildlings are moving around. They seem to be coming towards the south and going behind Mance Rayder and stuff. So they at least know something is up. So to your point, is it the most outrageous thought in the world, in this world, that you could talk about this, or that Ned wouldn't take heed and at least send Castle up to the castle of to talk to the old bear? Like, at least I don't know.
I'm with you. Sarah Charles says, "Men forget, but the trees remember," and you are correct, Sarah Charles, on that. But I think we're going to go to the next scene with Ned real quick. That's the wrong one. All right, here we are. We'll go to the next scene with Ned real quick and see what's going on here. Here we go.
Let's do this.
The madman sees what he sees. You're a funny man. Huh? A very funny man.
Ned.
All right, we're going to stop right there real quick. There was a quick scene, but it's still a very a notable scene. I hope everyone was able to hear it a little bit better that time. I raised it up the volume. But we see him right here grabbing Littlefinger. Littlefinger, who's doing him a solid at this point, right? Now, he's not known as the Wild Wolf, or that was his brother. That seemed like something more that his brother would do. Just grab him by the throat. At this particular time, did he have reason to grab Littlefinger by the throat? Should he have just all he said was, "Hey, I got your wife. I'm hiding your wife in the brothel," and you got to go and grab him by the throat and almost choke him? And was Ned justified for that? You know what I mean, for doing that right there?
No, and I think it kind of sealed his fate with what Littlefinger does to him eventually. I think ultimately in that moment, Ned de-evolved into his brother in that moment and was like, "Oh, the fucking little shit." He wasn't listening to him. Catelyn was there at certain opportunities. He doesn't listen to Littlefinger when he should listen to Littlefinger, and he listens to Littlefinger when he shouldn't listen to Littlefinger. I mean, some of it's bad timing. I mean, towards the end of the season when he's on his way out, he's like, "I'm getting the fuck out of King's Landing," and Littlefinger's like, "Oh, but I've got one more thing to tell you." And at that point, he should have been like, "Peace, I'm out. I'm Robert's crazy and Cersei's too powerful. I'm not hanging out here anymore." But in this moment right here, he's not really listening. He gets convinced that, and but people are, when you're in a moment where you're around a lot of people that are more intelligent than you, or or not even, or they know each other in a way that you don't know them, and you think that they're talking about you or something, and you get in your head and you're like, everyone in this fucking place is whatever, or I don't know. I'm kind of talking about a not usual situation, but people kind of know what I'm talking about, where you anticipate and you think and you project feelings. And I think he's projecting a little bit here. If he just actually listened to Littlefinger, he'd understand what he was talking about. And so I don't think and I know people are gonna be like, you're bashing Ned Stark. Littlefinger betrays him later, but in this moment, Littlefinger is being true. This is
At
probably
this time, he had no reason to hate Littlefinger. Yeah, he didn't know anything about Littlefinger. Not saying his instincts weren't right on him, but I just think at this particular time to grab him by the throat for him, and at the time, Littlefinger hadn't done anything yet. I think that it was a little bit premature at this time. I'm gonna try to hold my microphone up to the speakers here. Maybe that will bring in some sound for this stuff for the next scene. Hopefully. We will see, but the next scene is quick, so let's go right to that because that was a fast one.
Cool. What's the meaning of this, Lannister? Get back inside. It's safe. I'm looking for my brother. You remember my brother, don't you, Ned Stark? Blonde hair, sharp tongue, sure. I remember him well. Seems he had some trouble on the road. You wouldn't know what happened to him, would you?
that
You were taken at my command to answer for his crimes. My lord!
All right, so we'll stop right there. I don't know if you heard it any better.
Yeah, that was better.
It was better.
Yeah, that was
all right. So we'll keep doing it that way. All right, so we see the Ned Stark confrontation with Jaime Lannister at that particular time, and I just don't know. It was like, oh my God, Jaime is so young.
Jaime's so young.
Right, it's young compared to what you see it look like now, no doubt about it. But when you look at him there at this time, you see Ned at this. He takes the back of his wife. His wife has taken Tyrion Lannister without his permission to anything. Was him saying this to Jaime Lannister at this time the right thing for him to say?
He instigates that. Oh, I don't know. Oh God, you're asking me some difficult questions today. All I can think about in this moment, though, and I obviously answering your question with talking about something completely different, is how Ned should have already been out of King's Landing at that point. At that point, Robert and him got into a fight. He was packing his shit up and getting ready to get the girls out of there, and he sent a lot of people away. And the Littlefinger convinces him to go meet the other bastard, the little baby, I believe at that point, the little baby girl, I forget her name. So I think about a lot of that. And I also think a lot about Cat putting Ned in a difficult position right there. And should Ned have done that? I don't think Ned ever handled the Jaime situation correctly. I think he had a hair across his ass for Jaime, and him and Jaime could never have a normal conversation. So I personally think neither one of them handled the relationship between each other good. Ned, for whatever reason, Jaime always wanted to impress Ned, and it never worked. And Ned always wanted to piss off Jaime and instigate him. This is my favorite moment from the show that wasn't in the books. The fact that they fight here rather than what really happened, what happened in the books situation. I love this situation, and I love how Jaime reacts when he stabs the other guy. But you're asking me, did Ned react properly in this situation? And I'm avoiding the question because I don't know what the right thing to do in this situation is, because Catelyn fucked this all up for him.
Yes, he's in a no-win situation basically at this particular time. I agree with that. That he's really hard. You gotta stick up for your wife. Your wife had no business bagging this man up, but you have to stick up for your wife at this particular time. So I think that at this time Ned did do what he had to do. But you have to look at everything. You got to look at, because all his men got killed because of him. Mm-hmm. Because of that statement that he made, that Billy Badass statement, without being handed the king at that particular time, he got all of his men killed. So should he have thought more about his men? He knew the reaction he was going to get. There's no way he could have thought at that particular time, I'm going to say this and we're going to walk right away. He knew that there was going to be a fight right then at that particular time. So by him saying that, he did get his men killed. He let his arrogance, like you said, he has a problem with Jaime. Maybe it was, it's funny because, Ned's older than Jaime, and Jaime was sitting on the Iron Throne for, when he killed the king and stuff. And Ned never liked him since then. And he still never liked him after that. He still, and it's funny that Ned had a problem with Jaime for stabbing the Night King in the back, but we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later, why he would have a problem with that. But it just seemed to me, I would probably have done the exact same thing, but I don't know if it was the proper way to react at that particular time.
Yeah, it's just a difficult situation. It's and being ridiculously Star Trek, I'm like, it's a Kobayashi Maru. Ned's in a situation where he can't really do anything else in this moment, but you're right. His action gets Jory Castle killed in this moment. He realizes he's outnumbered. He realizes he's in a fucked up situation, but it's so hard in that moment, especially when you think of Jaime Lannister in the way that he thinks of Jaime Lannister. He can't eat shit here. Would Jaime have attacked him no matter what? If Ned had been like, well, I'm sorry, I'm leaving right now to go figure out what's going on. I'm going right now to find Catelyn and get Tyrion because this is unacceptable. I'm sorry, Jaime, to you and your family. This should be, Tyrion Lannister did nothing wrong as far as we know. I'm going to go get Tyrion and bring him back. Would Jaime have said, yeah, man, sure. Was Jaime going to attack him no matter what in that situation and threaten him? I don't know. It's a hard situation to analyze completely because in a lot of situations, we can look at the moment that happened and think about Ned's perspective. Ned, if we think about the book and think about what was in Ned's head at that moment, he's not going to let up in that moment. He's just not going to. He's not going to let a Lannister, especially Jaime Lannister, get one over on him. He has a big, huge hair across his ass for Jaime Lannister. Whether that's relevant or rational or not, it's exists, whether that has to do with Tywin or built up hostility that he has towards Tywin or his dad had towards Tywin, so got transferred on to Ned. There's a big Lannister problem, and I don't know if Ned could have done anything proper in this moment. I think this was going to be set off no matter what.
Yeah, it's all right. Maybe he could have said, I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about right now. Let me see you about this. Yeah. I don't know what you mean.
Exactly. Let me go talk to my wife. Yeah.
Maybe, but it's hard to say that would have worked. So I think Ned was in a no-win situation here. So I can't blame him for what he did at this particular time at all. It seemed like he was just in a bad spot himself.
And Tony, quickly before we move on, Sarah K says in the chat, and I'm a Jaime fan explainer in some ways when it comes down to it, but I agree 100%. Sarah K. Jaime was talking shit as well. Jaime doesn't know how to shut his fucking. I love Jaime Lannister. Jaime does not know how to shut his fucking mouth. I can relate to that. I was like that as a kid. Shut up, Phil. Shut up, Phil. I can't do it sometimes. Sometimes you want to be that guy that's talking shit, and Jaime's kind of that guy. Jaime's Tupac like that. He can't shut his fucking mouth when he has to.
Yeah. Jaime should have shut his mouth. But listen, Jaime at this, why would you? Your sister's the queen. You know what I mean?
Your dad's Tywin fucking Lannister.
Why? And you're the best fighter in Westeros at this particular time. He was just so cocky. He didn't give a fuck about Ned Stark, or anything like that,
Nope.
But they were beefing before, he was like, I wish you would enter the tournament. Or like, I don't enter the tournament, so I don't want the man I'm fighting to know what I can do. I mean, they were both jabbing at each other too. You know what I mean?
This was coming. And again, not to bemuse a point that gets talked about a lot. That's why I think it's such a great added scene. The way it plays out in the books also has a lot of intensity, but I always wanted them to have more of a actual physical clash. And it's good that they had that. And people can analyze that scene to death in the way they want, whether Ned was winning or something. I think it's more like Jaime knew he couldn't kill him and was holding back a little bit and surprised at how good Ned was and how he had to try a little harder than he did. But at that point in time, Jaime is the best swordsman in Westeros, in my opinion, and could have ended that at any point in time. And if he ended it, he wanted to end it in an honorable fighting way, because in a fucked up way, Jaime's honorable too. But now that's a discussion for a different show that Tony and I will do on Jaime Lannister.
All right, here we go. We'll do the next clip real quick, and I'll do the microphone trick again and see if we can get this thing there.
I cannot give you back your homes or restore your dead to life, but perhaps I can give you justice in the name of our King Robert. Lord Beric Dondarrion, you shall have the command. Assemble 100 men and ride to Sir Gregor's keep.
As you command.
In the the name of Robert of the House Baratheon, the first of his name, King of the Andals and the first men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm.
Dumbass.
I charge you to bring the King's justice to the false knight Gregor Clegane and all those who shared in his crimes. I denounce him and attaint him. I strip him of all ranks and titles, of all lands and holdings, and sentence him to death.
My lord, this is a drastic action. It would be better to wait for King Robert's return.
Grand Maester Pycelle,
My lord.
send a raven to Casterly Rock. Inform Tywin Lannister that he has been summoned to court to answer for the crimes of his bannermen. He will arrive within the fortnight or be branded an enemy of the crown and a traitor to the realm.
God.
Right. We're going to talk about that real quick right now. Now, this was a very, very turning point for Ned Stark, right?
Yeah.
When he went in, like he went all in, right? He went all in when he on this scene when he did that, right? 100% in on this. Now, did he do this? Now, he used this man. This man came to him, right? And said, hey, right now, these people are burning my stuff. They're doing all this. They threw down fish as, oh, that's a sign that they're doing it for the Tullys. Did he do this to say, hey, small folk, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to get for the crimes this man's committed against you. I'm going to make sure he pays because I'm doing this in Robert's name. Or was he serving his own agenda, his own purpose? And that's the reason why he did this. What do you think?
Stark, anger, and revenge. I don't think he was thinking clear. He was, especially if we use the book as a information, he had all these drug dreams and stuff like that while he was healing after the attack for Jaime or falling off the horse, whatever. He had been going through a lot of fucked up thoughts in that moment. His biggest mistake here was again not proper communication with Robert. If he had been more honest about I'm thinking the Lannisters are fucked up. I'm getting some proof. If he had waited and talked to Robert a little bit more in this situation, I know Robert at this point was like, fuck, you guys, you need to end this feud with the Lannisters. It needs to stop. But if he had brought more hard evidence about this situation to him, I don't know. I think, but that's not your question. Your question is, no, he was doing this for revenge. He was doing this because of what happened in the beginnings of the war between him and the Lannister family. And this is them attacking back, Tony. I don't think he did this for the right reasons. I think this was the beginning of some big mistakes Ned made. I love this speech too. Someone in the live chat said, KJ said, I love this speech. I love the speech too. And I think that's the beauty of casting Sean Bean in this role, the beauty of the way the first book is written and the first story is written about how much you believe and loves Ned Stark. And that's kind of why Tony's doing this why we're doing this podcast today or this show today. It's you want to believe in Ned Stark. He's so good at doing this. And in this moment, you're like, fuck yeah, fuck the Lannisters. He's doing the right thing. Fuck the mountain. But I think this was short thinking and anger. The Starks are honor bound, not the brightest, and they have big anger and they have quick anger. What Littlefinger says, I don't know what that quick blurb he says is, quick to stalks, quick to strike, blah 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 blah. It's a quick dumb decision, Tony. I don't always make good decisions in the moment. I think quickly and I think like an asshole sometimes, and I think that's what Ned Stark did in this moment. Made the right move, but it was bad timing.
It was very bad timing, and it just wasn't for the right reasons. It was just purely based on revenge, and he used this small folks guy as an excuse for him to have a justification to provoke the Lannisters. Now, one thing sending people after the Gregor Clegane, right? You send them after, you get Gregor, you bring him back, you kill him, you do that, whatever. But when you make Tywin Lannister an enemy of the crown, and you basically say, listen, if you don't show up. Now, what is the difference between what Ned Stark is doing here at this particular time and kind of like what the Mad King did to his father? Because what was going to happen to Tywin if he showed up at that thing? Was Ned going to kill Tywin when he showed up? I think he would have killed Tywin.
He would have tried to put him on trial. He would have tried to put him on trial or something.
Yeah, he would have put him on trial to execute him for his death.
Yeah,
So Tywin, why would Tywin show up? Now you've backed Tywin in the corner that he wanted to be backed into.
Yep.
You know, so it wasn't like you were cutting his legs off. You gave him the fuel to do what he wanted to do anyway.
Yep.
By your stupidness.
Yeah,
He wanted to go to war with you. Now I have no choice to go to war. He summoned me to King's Land. He's going to kill me. What am I going to do? I got to protect my family. You did that by being dumb. You should have took out his bannermen, and then after you took his bannermen out, then waited for it and see what would have happened. So he probably should have waited.
And I think Ned has small.
At that time, not made that statement against Tywin. That's what was the really bad move of Ned Stark, I think.
I agree with you 100% because I don't think Ned respects money. I don't think Ned respects how much power money has in that moment. And by saying that, by attacking Tywin in a public forum like that, it's one thing, again, to your point, it's one thing to go after the Mountain and say you have to bring him down. Beric, get the fuck out there, go get the Mountain for his crimes. He is Tywin's bannerman. But it's another thing in a room full of people who all have their hand in the pocket of Tywin Lannister in some way, shape, or form to be talking shit about him in open forum like that. After Robert has already told you how much money the crown freaking owes this dude and all that sort of stuff, even if he's on the level 100%, it's a little shady in that moment. You know that he has a lot of people, and I don't think the Starks understand or respect how much the world is driven by the coin. And I think we think about the Starks in a lot of ways as their positives and their negatives, but I think that's one thing that gets overlooked a little bit. Ned doesn't realize how much money matters. And I think in this moment, it's just foolhardy to talk about Tywin in this sense right now. I don't know. Tywin's motherfucking dog. Yes, he is.
Yeah, it was a bad move by Ned. Series of bad moves in a row. You know what I mean? And I'm not. And someone saying Joffrey
Ninja
be
kick
a horrible
right.
ruler. Yes, Joffrey is terrible. You know what I mean? But it's still, I think that he jumped the gun too much. He was smelling himself too much. He was feeling because maybe it's that throne. You know what I mean? Maybe that throne, sitting on that throne, this makes you feel like your shit don't stink. I could do whatever the fuck I want. And at that particular time, he was just feeling himself too much. And he was like, you know what? I'm saying this and I'm saying this. And Tywin, bring your ass here, or you are against the crown yourself.
To your point.
Yeah. Do you think that if Robert would have heard what Ned did, that he would have backed Ned on that?
No, I think Robert's not afraid to. He'd be like, no, it's too much. I owe Tywin money. Do not get Tywin Lannister down there. That's foolhardy. I think also, to your point, what really made me think about was after Ned quit, yelled at Robert in open forum, told him he's an idiot about the Daenerys situation, walked out, got into a fight with Jaime Lannister. Robert still didn't fire him. So Ned, and then he told him to go sit on the fucking Iron Throne and make decisions for him. So to your point, Ned was so full with Robert's filling him up at that point that he has a power. You can do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to kill the Targaryens, but you, anything else, go run my kingdom for me. I don't give a shit. All I care about is killing Targaryens and fucking girls and hunting boar. That's all I care about, and drinking. So do whatever you want to do in that sense. I do want to go to someone in the live chat that said, where would you have never where is it? Never should have gone after Tywin. Totally agreed. Ned would have never. Okay, that's what it is. What Ninja Kick said. Ned never forgave Tywin for what happened to the Targaryen children. I agree with that, and I think that attributes to his feelings towards Jaime and his feelings towards all the Lannisters.
Let me debate that real quick. Does Ned really know that's what happened to the kids? Like he was the one that did that? I mean, I don't know if it's common knowledge.
Yeah, no, I guess not. But
I don't know.
The only argument I'll come at you with is that Tywin Lannister is the type of person that if he does something like that, he may not want people to straight out know he does it, but he'll send a whisper campaign going on. He'll make sure all the whisper people and all the people that know that at least it's whispered about Tywin Lannister did all that. And I think Ned, as we've seen before, is accustomed to believe the rumors of what people say. And so I don't know if maybe that information's out there completely, but I'm sure that Tywin made sure that everyone knew that he had some hand in that. Or maybe people think it's the Mountain that did it and people blame Tywin for it. But that's a good question, Tony. I don't know if everyone knows that.
Yeah, I mean, Oberyn suspected it, but I'd never seen nobody else even bring that up ever. You know what I mean?
That's a good point because Oberyn suspected it, but he needed Tywin to admit it to know it for sure. So to your point, I probably not. People suspected it, but they never knew it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, we're gonna go to the next clip here that we have of Ned Stark, and this that we're going on here. This is a big clip right here.
Nice.
I think this is really telling on the character of Ned Stark that we see right here. All righty.
You damned fool. Paper and ink on the table. Write down what I say. In the name of Robert, the House Baratheon. First, you know how it goes. Fill in the damn titles. Hereby command Eddard of House Stark, titles. To serve as Lord Regent and Protector of the Realm upon my death. To rule in my stead until my son Joffrey comes of age.
Actually, could I tell you that he's not your son?
All right.
Oh my! You're muted, Tony. I don't know if it's me or
I'm good now, right?
Okay, yeah, now I can hear you.
All right, just like this. All right, so we see Ned right here. Robert, right? In the first clip we seen, said that Ned was a friend to him, a loyal friend, all right? True friend to him. And then we see him on his deathbed. Now, this is, I guess, when you have to be. I don't know why Robert told everyone to leave the room. This is the problem. This is the biggest problem they have. Why did he tell everyone to leave? Why didn't he say this in front of everybody, right? That's what I think he should have did. But the fact that he had everyone leave the room, this fucked up everything. So now he lets everyone leave the room and he says this, right? And then it's like Ned goes and changes his words in the will. Now, was Ned justified for changing the words that the king spoke? I mean, this is the king. Doesn't matter what he knows and doesn't know. You didn't tell him. You chose not to tell him. Was it justified for him to say what he said?
There's two huge points there. And one, I don't know why the fuck would Robert not at least keep Barristan in there or keep some of the other people in there, or even make sure that Cersei's in there hearing it and there's other people. He knows Cersei well enough. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense why Robert wouldn't have everyone in there, or at least a couple of other people watching that, or his whole small council. Everyone. It makes sense. And that, I hate to say it like this, it makes sense because they needed it for the story to make sense. But other than that, I don't get it quite. I get maybe after all that's done, him wanting to have a moment alone with Ned to say some private things to him. But this isn't private. This needs to be said in front of people, and Robert's at least smart enough to know that. I don't know. But to your point of Ned changing the words, I think what he should have done in that moment is, I don't give a fuck if I'm on my deathbed. I'm talking to you, Joe Dirty Locks, if you're watching this, buddy. If I'm on my deathbed and you know a secret, tell me the fucking truth. Don't save my feelings on my fucking deathbed. I want to know. I don't care. I want my you know Robert well enough to know he would have a joyful last feeling if his last thought was, oh, Cersei's gonna hang for lying to me. Like, he would enjoy that feeling. That's Robert. Know your friend well enough. But he didn't want to have an uncomfortable conversation with him, or I don't understand why he decided to change it, not just tell Robert in that moment the truth. Actually, Robert, I found some information that Joffrey might not be your son. I don't know. I feel like that should have been a discussion that was held there. And I can't get past the fact that I don't get his rationale completely, or I get it, but I don't agree with his rationale of not telling Robert in this moment, Tony.
Yeah, he should have told. If this is what you're basing it on, right? And you're going to put rightful heir, right? You put rightful heir in there. That's what you're going to sabotage the king's words, and then put rightful heir in there. And this is what you're going to have. What were you going to use besides Robert's now? If Robert just didn't die right after he said those words, it wasn't like he said, and my son, ugh, and he died. He was still alive for a while. So if you would have told him, he would have had Bishop Barristan come back in here, grab up Cersei Lannister, yada, 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 yada. Ned Stark is the next ruler. And it would have been done. It would have all been done.
Especially with what happened the day before, or not day before, who knows, the scenes before where he's threatening Cersei and he's telling her, I know, get your fucking kids and get the hell out of here. Once you do that, you have to tell Robert. If you don't tell Robert, you are the most short thinking, then you are taking too much of the milk of the poppy and your brain is dull, Ned Stark, because once you break that down to Cersei, have enough, you know how maybe he doesn't realize how controlling she is or how understanding, but you at least know the Lannister family is capable, right? You know, you can have disrespect, but Don Corleone knows that Bazzini is a man that can get shit done. And that's why he advises Michael at the end that he's the real fucking enemy. Like the other dude's just a pimp. But like I'm saying, like ultimately, you know that the Lannisters are functioning. They can do shit. They can make moves in this game better than you. Once you break it down to Cersei, once you tell her, I know your game, I know what's going on, I'm telling Robert, I don't care if Robert comes back on his deathbed. Cersei fucked up. Cersei was hoping the boar would kill him in that moment. You can see her in that scene when Ned comes in. She's scared to fucking death. She hoped the boar killed Robert in the moment, not he came back alive. She's like, I'm fucked. Ned's gonna tell him. I'm screwed in this moment. My whole plans are gonna fall through. Robert's last wishes and everyone, all his Kingsguard are all gonna kill me and all gonna kill my kids. I'm fucked. You know, I lost here. You can almost see that look on her face, and Ned decides not to fuck her over. Like, do you want to die? That's what I have to ask him in moments like this.
This is your last shot.
Yeah, this is your last shot.
Your last shot to really get this done. You have the king. He's your best friend. He loves you. Oh, wait a second before I get into that. I have to announce two people real quick. 1 second. We have to announce the Oracle, Claire Gray. We haven't seen Claire in a long time. Well, I have not seen or heard from Claire in a very long time. So obviously, I must announce the Oracle, Claire Gray, up in the building. And I must announce, I'm sorry, I should have announced this a long time ago. My beautiful, sexy podcast partner is in the building, who would have been on this stream with us as she always is, but she has family business to attend to. That is the one and only LMR. Love you. Love you, Claire. Thank you that you are both here rocking with us. And Claire says, I don't think Ned wanted to be responsible for the death of more children. Excellent. Even Cersei's children. Now, I can agree with you there, Claire, that he didn't want to be responsible. But if that was the case, then he should have never even have brought it up at all to Cersei. Yep. Take your kids. I'm not going to have the kids' blood on my hands or anything like that. This was a do or die situation Ned was in.
Yep.
He couldn't have really thought of the children at this particular time. And if Ned really wanted to care about those kids, he could have smuggled those kids out of there.
And he would have already had his own kids out of there at that point.
Yes, he could have got Joffrey and those little baby girls out of there, and Cersei and Jaime would have just fell and took the axe, and that would have been it. He could have got those kids and had them go to the wall. He could have had them go back to Castle Rock. They have no claim to the throne. They just have to live their name as bastards of insects kids and have to just go with that.
He could have kidnapped, he could have sent Jory, or Jory was dead at that point. He could have sent the last of his best men to kidnap the kids in the night and bring them to Casterly Rock or something like that. Bring them to Tywin Lannister or something like that. And I think once you make that decision to talk to Cersei right there, and I do not to bemuse the point, you have no choice but to tell Robert. I don't care what state he is in. You're lucky he came back alive and saved your fucking life, because if you're thinking about the kids, which he is, and I agree with you, that's an excellent point. Think about your own kids in this moment. Think about the position that Arya and Sansa are in this moment right now, and that you need to protect them too, and protect the rest of your men after Jaime already destroyed most of them. Again, I ask, he knows what kind of people the Lannisters are, and you gotta, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You know, like when it comes down to it, you're facing off against these Lannisters that are playing a different game, and you gotta play into that.
That's it. You can't if you're going against, if you're playing cards and you're playing against a cheater, right, in cards, right? This is what Ned Stark did. This is what I look at, the way I look at it. He's playing poker with Cersei at this particular time, right? Cersei was going to cheat. He caught her cheating. He caught her red-handed cheated, but didn't say nothing about it. He's still playing the game.
No.
If you catch someone playing poker and you catch him cheating, if you see the dog in the poker dog painting, and you see the dog with the ace in his foot, if you catch the ace in the foot, you don't let him keep playing.
No,
You pull him out. He said, "What's that in your foot, dog? What is that? I see an ace." Yeah. And this was it. Cersei was caught red-handed. He had it. He tried to kill Robert. It didn't work. He still holding on. And all you did was doctor his words. And you thought that was going to be enough. That was just a stupid play by Ned Stark. He should not have done that. He should have told Robert right then, "This is what I heard. This is the evidence. You know I love you. I wouldn't tell you this unless I thought it was true. But I do believe that right now, Cersei is fucking her brother. That is not your kid right there. And your real son is Gendry, who's the blacksmith." And that's what I'm hearing. I don't think Joffrey's your son, so I don't want you to get. As soon as you said, give Joffrey this throne until Joffrey comes of age, listen, Joffrey's not your kid. Blah, 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 blah. He had the perfect opportunity to bring it up. I hate to say this to you right now, Robert, but you know I'm honest, and I have to tell you this. It's not your kid. All Baratheons have black hair. Through the histories, your kids have blonde hair, and the reason why is because Jaime's been fucking Cersei.
Yep. And Robert would have been like, "Oh, I always suspected it." And then called in Barristan, called in the rest of his Kingsguard, and gone. And I know in that moment, what Ned is thinking, I don't want to hurt the kids. I don't want to hurt Cersei Lannister because she's just a woman. You know, like whatever he's thinking is stupid. It's just stupid in that moment. They are bloodthirsty killers that are going to be taking any opportunity they can get. People are saying, "Preach, Tony." And I just want to go down a couple of these things. Cersei's one of the dumbest I've ever seen. She even managed to outsmart Ned. Even if he told Robert he was not in a condition to do something, he died shortly after. Preach, Tony. You see how Stannis fell back to dragons. And no, I want to say Ned was in the Viper's pit holding mice by the tail. Dumb. Ned Stark is an honorable fool. He got his family murk, period. Cersei had loaded dice. Yeah, and exactly. It was just dumb. And it just showed, it's a shame that the Starks didn't employ some smart people, or he didn't listen to Varys more in that moment, because Varys was probably the only person in that time that was speaking honest truth to him. And Renly fucked him too. Renly getting the fuck out of there really fucked him too. He could have, if Renly decided in that moment, I'm going to hold this for Stannis, and because I'm supporting my brother, I'm going to be my brother's hand to the king, which I think if Stannis would have, if Renly had, kissed the ring, so to speak.
The sword swallower was just thinking of his own crown.
Yeah.
He just wanted to take it for himself.
If he had thought Stannis is the king, I'm in a good position right now to take my men and support Ned to hold this for Stannis, because he knew, and Stannis knows as well about the situation. Ned had sent the letters and stuff. So I don't know. I think there's a whole bunch of mess to go around here, but Ned to go to this one mistake about changing the name. I think Tony and I can both agree, and most people can agree, Ned fucked this situation up and made a stupid mistake. And the combination of this and the conversation with Cersei are the two biggest, dumbest mistakes Ned Stark ever makes. Everything else is debatable in understanding, but I think these two moments are really foolhardy decisions that cost him his life.
And people could say, "Oh, Ned's not used to playing the Game of Thrones. He's the Warding of the North." That's the Game of Thrones up there too. So it's not like he's a goddamn farmer, right? Yeah. And he's just over here herding sheep, or he's milking cows up there, and he has no idea about any type of political thing going on. He's the Lord of the whole goddamn North. He's playing his own Game of Thrones with the Boltons, with the House Dustin, with all the people, the Flints, with everything else. So he should be accustomed to this. It's not, it's not this guy just came out of nowhere. He wasn't up there baling hay. He wasn't a fisherman. You know what I mean? He was playing the Game of Thrones up there. So he should have known exactly what was going on. He should have been more prepared for the situations going on there. I'm sure he's been lied to before. You think everyone in the North is honest? I'm sure there's liars there too. He should have known all this stuff going on. You know what I mean? But he came down there acting like he's so goddamn naive, and I just don't believe that the man. I mean, he just must be stupid. I just don't know.
That's what it is. And I think it comes down to maybe a lack of intelligence. And Bernie and Santovia are cracking me up. Ned has no street smarts. He was like a country boy visiting the big city, can be completely out of his league. Country bumpkin. Yes. Tony Rant. Well said, Tony. Well said. Yeah, and I think that's ultimately what it is. I think he is honorable. You're forced to the realization that he's not the brightest. He's probably not as bright as him and his brother and his father probably weren't the brightest bulbs in the world. And I think the kids are a little bit more intelligent, and Rob a little bit, and Sansa definitely, because of Catelyn. Even though Catelyn doesn't make the greatest decisions, she's not stupid. She just is emotional and makes quick decisions and stuff. But I think Ned isn't super bright.
When I see this, Claire Gray, I'm sorry, girl. I love you, but I'm going to push back on this a little bit. She says he was used to politics, Tony, but not the small council and the viper's nest of King's Land. I would have, Bruce Bolton is just as smart as anybody down there in King's Landing. Bruce Bolton is just as devious and treacherous, and he had to deal with him. So he should have been very prepared. I remember before when I came to upstate New York, when I got bagged up and got arrested up here, and when they put me in jail, it was in Catskill, East Jewett, actually, when I was like 15 years old. The cops were saying to me, "You city slickers, you thought we were just a bunch of dumb hicks up here, huh? You thought you'd be able to get away with what you got away with, you city slicker. You thought we were dumb up here, but we weren't. Then we got bagged up, right?" So I didn't think that, but the fact that they thought it that and they still caught me means that, listen, it doesn't matter where you're from. You can get bagged up anytime. So even if he was from the North and he was a little more country, he should have been able to catch that stuff. He should have been able to see what was going on. Why would you trust people you have never met? And Robert told you when you got the job, you are the only friend that I can trust. I ain't seen you in 8 years. Yeah. I ain't talked to you in 8 years. Yet you are the only person that I can trust. So he should have known exactly what was going on and how these people rolled. And I just think that he was bound to die. And it was a lot of it is his own fault to say. And I hate to say that, but it is the truth. So let's go on.
I just want to say one quick
comment. Go right ahead.
Southeast, just to the same point, says up north is the JV squad, but down south is varsity. Ned was out of his depth.
I could agree with that. You could say something like that. But Bruce Bolton is not JV. Yeah. Bruce Bolton knows the deal.
And this is for a request. I'm no big city Ned Stark, but sorry, everybody. A couple of requests.
Sir Barrister, I believe no man here could ever question your honor.
King Robert seal, unbroken. Lord Eddard Stark is herein named Protector of the Realm, to rule as regent until the heir come of age.
May I see that letter, Sir Barrister?
Can I use it for toilet paper?
Protector of the realm. Is this meant to be your shield, Lord Stark?
I mean, Phil.
Oh my God.
I really want to talk about this scene with that song real quick. And I know people. I'm not here to bash that. I'm not. I'm just here to look at what I'm saying. First off, You bought a forged document, right? That's not Robert's words. You forged that and then you go there, the Honorable Ned Stark, with a forged document and expect that, oh, this is going to protect me. This is going to be respected. Did you expect, after you threatened Cersei's life, right? You threatened her and her kid's life. And you go there with a piece of paper of a dead man and say, oh, everyone's just going to bow to the will of this paper.
After the lion banners are already hanging up. Like it's not like you did this. You already fucked up at this point in time. Again, the proper play is to kiss the ring, go the fuck back up north, go meet up with Stannis, and then go a big force down to oust those motherfucking Lannisters. Because at that point, it's too fucking late. You screwed up. Make the right decision in this moment. You lied later for Sansa when she begs you to, and you talk all that shit for your family. Make the same decision in this moment. Know when you're defeated. You really and again, this is he trusts Littlefinger in this moment. He thinks that the city watches on his side, right? At this point, is that why he's talking like this? Because he again doesn't realize how much money matters, and he thinks that, oh, I got the city watch on my side. Again, I asked the question, though, when I'm watching this, then why not have more people in there? Robert, if you're going to do something as serious as have me write this thing about your heir or whatever, shouldn't we have other people in there? And I know it's because he lies about it, but it's so interesting how Ned builds this whole thing up like, I'm lying. But then he goes in there with these balls in there. I don't know.
Can you see how cocky he was? Bro, you had a piece of paper. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you went in there with all the. I mean, why would you think Littlefinger had your back when you choked the man?
Dude.
Now, there had to be a reason, right? You choked him. There had to be a reason why you did that, right? You knew that this man was in love with your wife. You knew that your brother almost killed this man. And he told you, he cut me from my throat all the way down to my belly button. But yet, all of a sudden now, you feel like, I can trust this man. What did he do to make you believe that you could trust him at this particular time? Because I didn't see anything at all, you know what I mean, that would make me think that, this guy would be the guy who have my back. I would have never went in there. And he was just too goddamn cocky. If you were that cocky and you were that confident, you should have been confident enough to tell Robert Baratheon the truth on his deathbed.
That's what this all comes back to, Tony. It all comes back to stupid decisions that happened before this. And I keep hearing the words of Fred Sanford in my head. You big dummy. It's just you're a big fucking dummy in this moment, Ned. Like if I had that sound cue, I was looking for it. I had it.
You big dummy.
Big dummy. I just want to hear that. Like every time this scene plays, I hear Fred Sanford's voice going, "You big dummy," because it's just stupid mistake after stupid mistake. And we see just to get a little preview of what the next scene we're going to be talking about here. That we see what's on the screen right now. This is what it leads you to, Ned. It all leads you to this motherfucking point because you make these dumb, stupid mistakes. And again, his whole time at King's Landing, yes, he was a rube coming from the country, coming from up north down to the big city. And I agree, he's no city slicker. He's out of his element, dude. You're out of your element, dude. Like, I get it. Donnie doesn't know what they're talking about. I get it. Ned, all of those things are true. But Ned, if Ned is not a complete moron, he needs to understand a few things. And it seems like he completely overlooks those things and then makes three strikes you're out mistakes. The talking to Cersei, not telling Robert, and then doing this. Like, these three things are unarguably stupid. In my mind, maybe someone could argue with me, but they're just stupid. And I think when it comes down to your overall question about this, about Ned Stark being an honorable man, yes. But is Ned Stark a bright man? No. No.
It's not that much honor to forge your friend's signature. When we look at this honor that he supposedly have, we shall talk a little bit more about that when it's all over. We'll wrap it all up with the honor question. But, so I said, I think Hodor would have did a better job than Ned Stark. Maybe. You know what I mean? At least you would just said Hodor the whole time, and that would have been that. You know what I mean? So who knows? Why would you think that they would respect that right at that particular time. I mean, we know the history of all of the books because we have all these books and we see the histories of the Targaryens and everything else. But even when it came to succession, especially when we deal with the Dance of Dragons, you're seeing how treacherous people were. You know that no one's gonna go quietly. Why would you think she will respect that piece of paper at that particular time? Because you went there with the knowledge that you were going to have to seize the throne by force. That's why you had Littlefinger there to have your back. Okay. Why put yourself in that position to have to seize the throne by force?
If we're giving Ned a little bit of credit here in this moment, I guess what he's thinking is, I got Littlefinger's people, I got them on my back. But I guess what he really believes will be his saving grace in this situation is the seal of the king. The fact that it's actually sealed, that Robert really wrote this. Because I think it's the same thing when you have fucked up things in your mind. It's not necessarily just honor. And I talked about this at the beginning, and we'll wrap this up as well. But I think when you think in a certain perspective and you allow your vision for whatever reason to be narrow-minded, and you think in Ned's case that is honor that allows him to be narrow-minded. He really believes that everyone is going to respect things the way he's going to respect them. He really believes even Cersei Lannister, when it's the word of the king, cannot refute this because everyone else is going to be like, I support the word of the king in this moment. He doesn't understand the here and now. And even if it comes down to being stupid or smart, we're having a little fun with it. But I think it really comes down to that lack of awareness because of how pigeonholed his belief system is. And it allows him to think that everyone thinks the way I think, or everyone should, or I'm the envy of everybody. It's a little bit of ego too, and understanding that the right thing will always shine through in a sense. But to your point earlier, he understands the history. It's not like the Starks are unlearned about the history of the world of Westeros. He understands what kind of world this is. Are the Starks really this big of idealists that they think that the word of the king in this moment would be enough, Tony? I don't know.
I mean, they overthrew the king himself.
Yeah.
And that's not too long ago, right? They're the ones who overthrew the crown when his life was on the line. These are the same people, the crown who murdered his father, right? Who murdered his brother. He's seen what happened to the Targaryen kids. He's not unaccustomed to what goes on in this world. He understands what world he's living in. He's lived it. So why all of a sudden would you just think that this piece of paper is going to save me? When you watch Renly leave King Landon and everyone else bail, there's a reason why they bailed. Why'd you think they left? You think, hey, everyone just left here, but I'm going to be the one to stay here, and I'm going to confront Cersei in the throne room with Joffrey with a piece of paper that I forged. You go in there with fool's gold.
Once you know that in a moment, Tony, like once you heard Renly's leave, don't you get bad spider sense? Even if you're someone that doesn't have, again, to live motherfucking chat's point, I understand the ignorance that he has for this world. But if you're a seasoned warrior and you've been through the world and been through life, in that moment when you hear that Renly's left, don't you get spider sense? Don't you get a little bit of maybe this isn't the best thing to do in the world? And that's where Ned has zero. He has zero ability to do improv in a moment to make a decision and change his tunnel vision. And I think it's just stupid. You big dummy. Big dummy.
Yeah. Let's go to this next scene of Ned Stark, the Honorable Ned Stark. Let's go to the next scene and see exactly what Ned gets himself into this time.
This is gonna go good.
I come before you to confess my treason in the sight of gods and men. I betrayed the faith of my king and the trust of my friend Robert. I swore to protect and defend his children, but before his blood was cold, I plotted to murder his son and seize the throne for myself.
All right, now, Honorable Ned Stark. Right, that's what he's known as. That's what everyone knows him as, and that is what's supposed to go on here. The Honorable Ned Stark. Now, he just went up there and told a lie that allowed him to be executed.
Yep.
He's the Lord of Winterfell. If you just admitted in front of people that you tried to kill the king, if he would have not have done that, Joffrey would have had no justification of killing him or get a rebellion from the north.
Yep.
But by him saying that, gave Joffrey the ability for him to be executed at that particular time.
You big dummy.
Yep. Sorry, I had to do it at least once. But yeah, and I think it's a shame because I get what he's thinking here. Varys really plays this up to him, and they play up the Sansa thing that Arya, they don't know where Arya is, Sansa, and I get they cater to his loyalty to his family rather than making the right decision in this moment. This is one of those ones where I get his perspective for doing it, and it's one of those ones that if I was in that situation and I knew I was dead already, would I try to do something to protect my kids? And I think he's doing that more than he cares about his own life. He's thinking that this will allow Sansa to live or something. But again, it's really short thinking because I think it's underestimating Joffrey. Because as much as Cersei becomes very volatile later, the Cersei Lannister that we have in season 1 of the television show is almost a reasonable person. I'm not talking about book Cersei. I'm talking about season 1 where she was almost, and I say almost reasonable. She warns Ned off in that meeting when they're talking, like, are you sure you should be talking to me like this? She doesn't want to kill him. She gives Joffrey sage advice to a certain extent of, we can't kill our enemies. We have to let them, we have to let Ned, we can't let Ned die. She's Tywin's mouthpiece in the sense of understanding, regurgitates what Tywin puts out there. We all know that he thinks Ned being killed is foolhardy and stupid and costs a lot more money in the long run. Even though he ends up winning, it costs a lot and costs him his life essentially down the road. But I think Ned in this moment, he's thinking too much about his family. He has to think that I can't give the Lannisters the power, but I think he underestimates Joffrey and he trusts Cersei on her word that she will allow him to go to the Night's Watch and protect his kids. So I think what this comes down to is an underestimation of Joffrey being Joffrey.
I think that just comes down to, and I'm sick. I'm not gonna say I'm not bashing that stuff. I want people to think, oh, you better. I'm just saying the truth here. I think it's just a stupid point. You know what I mean? The bottom line is, if you're in that situation to be executed, you're thinking, by me saying this, Sansa is safe. What's the reasoning that Sansa would be safe if you're doing that? If you got sent to the Night's Watch, how is Sansa safe? You're far away. She's still in King's Landing. Sansa's not safe. If you're going to make up a lie, you already lied before. Now you're going to make up another lie right now. You're going to lose your life no matter what. Why not just come out and say the truth?
Yeah, I know.
I stand before you because I found out that Joffrey is of incest of Cersei Lannister and Jaime Lannister and blah, blah. Why not just come and spit all that out right there?
Yeah, that's the ballsy thing to do. That's what would the Red Viper do? That's like, you have to say it in that moment. And I kind of agree with you. Like hearing you say that makes me feel like, yeah, it's like one last fuck you. It's the freedom,
anyway, right?
It's so the freedom. It's like knowing you're gonna die and giving them one last fuck you. And I like that. I definitely like that. But in this situation, the only pushback, because I love that, and I can't argue, but I would love to have seen him do that. What is he? I can't verbalize this in words. He's a Oh, I fucked it up. I fucked up my setup there because I had the channel on mute. But he's kind of a big dummy. He's in a prison cell for a while. He's not thinking straight. I'll give him a little bit of leeway in this decision compared to some of the other ones because of the position he's been in for the last X amount of months or however much time, not eating and not and being in the black cells. I think that, but I agree with you. I agree with you. How I probably want to say I would handle that situation is that way. Is I give the people I'm going to die anyways. I'm going to give you one last fuck you. And
they wouldn't have been able to execute him. He is the Lord of Winterfell, of Paramount of the North. You can't execute him. If he says up there and said, I am Robert Baratheon's best friend, and I am the hand of the king. Robert proclaimed me to be protector of the realm. And until then, I've been seized by the Lannisters because I have said that I came up with proof that Joffrey is nothing but an incest child of Cersei Lannister and blah blah. And even want to keep lying. He likes to lie, say, and I told Robert this, and that's why I'm being here held prisoner right now. So if all you people want to respected your king, rise up now against the treachery of the Lannisters.
Yeah.
You know, look at the people already rioted once in King's Landing, right? And they were going to rip the Lannisters apart. They ripped someone's arm off. They were going to kill them at that particular time when they did that riot in the King's Landing. Why wouldn't they already know that they don't like? Tyrion has said that the people hate us. They don't like us. Why not just come out with it right then and see if the people have your back? You know, because if I was him, I would have just staged. I would have said it and stage dive off that thing right into the crowd and had them carry me away and protect me. And I was like, have my back. I just jumped off into the crowd. What would they have done? If people loved you, they would have protected you, and you would have been out of there. And that would have been it.
I agree in a certain sense, just that he knows he's fucked anyway in that moment, so why not go out with a bang? And I like to think about myself in that perspective too, that if I knew I was fucked like that, I would go out with a bang as well. But it's tough to argue with your point there, because that would be an amazing way to go out. But I almost understand Ned's perspective in this moment. But it was the stupidest thing he could have done, and he was in a bad position. And it's fun to know now what person Joffrey is, but at the moment there was nothing to make you think Joffrey would do. No, that's not true. That's not true. I was going to say something stupid, because the wolf situation and Robert and everything that happened with Joffrey when he was a kid, killing Tommen's cats and all that sort of shit. Joffrey, the hints of what kind of dickhead Joffrey was, and in the books, Joffrey and Robb's relationship, we had a kind of precursor of what kind of person Joffrey would be. And Ned at least would have got whispers of it from the time that they were at King's Landing, time that they were at Winterfell, where Robb would be like, yeah, or Joffrey's a little bit of a pompous prick, and we better hope this asshole's never king. Because Joffrey was a dick the whole time at Winterfell. We don't see it as much in the show, but he definitely was. He was prancing around there and in the books fighting Robb, and there was like all this sort of shit, beating the shit out of people and being a general dick.
I agree. You know, Claire says that he was crippled with fear because Sansa was right there. It's quite possible he could have been crippled with fear, but what you didn't save Sansa anything. In all honesty, you know, if he would have said that, you know what I mean? I don't know. You can't kill Sansa. You can't, as a political move right then, they could not put that little girl's head on the pike and murder her. It would have been over for the Lannisters if they did that. The whole city would have erupted, and everyone would have turned against them, and they would have got murdered right then if they did that shit right then. There's no way they could have pulled that off. That he gave them the justification for killing him by what he said. And if he's a man of such honor that he claims to be, when his honor was really put to the test, right? It's kind of like, was that Job, right? Not Job, Abraham, right? Who was God asked him to kill his son, the Abraham.
Was that kill one of the
to kill his son, like take your son to the top of the mountain and cut his throat, right?
Like
God told me to do this, and then right before he cut his throat, God said, "No, don't do it. I just want to test you and see if you did it."
See if you do it, yeah.
Right. So this is when his honor was being tested to the limit, right then. All right, to the limit. This is when you really had to come up with your honor. Your honor was on the line, and instead of sticking to your guns with your honor, you made up a lie, and that lie justified Joffrey and them killing you. You should have stuck to your honor and said, "You know what? I got more honor." You know, it's it's kind of like when you're Jehovah's Witness, you don't understand what Jehovah's Witness is. But like if you get disfellowshipped as a Jehovah's Witness, no one in the congregation is allowed to talk to you ever, not even your parents. And I know people whose parents, they get this fellowship and they won't talk to them because they believe in God so much. They believe that their relationship with God is more important than any relationship with any mortal that they have. They haven't talked to their children in years. Now, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, that's the type of honor Ned Stark is supposed to have at that particular time. He's supposed to stick to his guns at this time and say, you know what? I am not going to lie right now. I'm going to be an honorable man and say the truth right now, and let the people decide what's going to happen to me.
Yeah. And Vincent says he was not crippled with fear. He was hamstrung by ineptitude. I like
I go with that. You know, I could definitely go with that. We have one more scene. I did have the scene with the wolves and everything else in there, but YouTube, you know, that they will demonetize you if you use certain stuff. So we weren't able to use everything I wanted to use and stuff for this. But we will go to this scene because we tried of Ned Stark.
Nice. Oh my God.
He's better than my father. Far better. My father beat him. Did he? No, he did. Heard the story 1,000 times.
Yeah, motherfucker. What?
He stabbed him in the back.
How rude. He had the higher ground.
All right. So they were dealing with the honorable Ned Stark.
Sorry.
Right? And we hear Bran say at this particular time, I heard the story 1,000 times. All right. So Ned has bragged to his. I'm going to assume he heard it from Ned. You know, I'm going to assume he did. So we've heard Ned brag about defeating Sir Arthur Dayne, and what I'm going to think is one-on-one combat. That he beat the greatest knight in all of Westeros in one-on-one combat, and he truly didn't. He was about to lose his life. So what do you take from this scene about Ned? This is a tall tale that people just like to brag about, that he was just saying that, or do you think that this points to Ned not being that honorable? The honor of Ned.
It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff here because, okay, technically Ned didn't stab him, so I'm getting caught in the live chat for a second. I missed something, but that passed by. Or someone said he has the higher ground. Yes, Anakin had the higher ground there. I think there's a couple points here. Whether Ned was the one, I think Ned maybe initially spread this story, or it kind of goes with the story of Jon Snow being his bastard kid, and to kind of shape the narrative here and give them both a little bit more honor coming out of this. That the frogman there was knocked unconscious, and Ned defeated Sir Arthur Dayne after the big battle and won there alone and told the story. Okay, that being said, it makes me think a little bit of a real life story. I didn't really have a father figure, but I had a stepdad that was more like an older brother. And when my local town won the Super Bowl one year, he caught what I heard for years as a kid. It was like the Al Bundy thing. I caught the winning touchdown pass the game we won the Super Bowl, right? And it was like a big thing when I was a kid growing up. Everyone talked about it and he bragged about it, but it was like kind of, whatever, but kind of bragging, kind of whatever about it, which I assume similar to the way Ned Stark is. Finally, when I'm old enough and I was a freshman in high school and I played on the football team and I got a couple of varsity snaps and stuff. But anyways, so when I was in that year, they showed the 1972 Super Bowl, the one that my stepbrother, he's my stepdad, but he was more like a brother, or uncle, or a weird, creepy uncle, caught the winning touchdown pass. And they showed it and instead of catching the winning touchdown pass, he was on a blocking assignment, and he did catch it, but it bounced off some other dude's helmet, fell into his hands as he fell into the end zone. It was really kind of like an accidental situation. And I watched it for the first time, and I was like, holy shit, this is not what I thought this was going to be like. I thought you ran like 20 yards. It ended up, he was like blocking, it bounced off someone's helmet, fell into his hands, he fell into the end zone. And it was just, and this reminds me of that situation. And he played into it. He played into that moment. And I think Ned plays into this. Whether this has to do with honor or not, I think when you're in a fight for the death, winning is winning. The honor is winning the fucking fight. And however you want to shape that afterwards is whatever. I think in this moment, Ned had to win this fight, and he got his ass kicked. But yes, there was still a fight initially. It was on the show. What was it? 2 on. What was it? 2 on. No,
how much? Like 6 or something.
Yeah, it was like 3 on 6. It was.
Yeah.
It's different in the books. And then it was like 4, whatever. It doesn't matter. But they were up against it and they won. And I think in a fight to the death, it doesn't really fucking matter. But it's true. Stories are funny like that. But is that Ned's fault?
I'm going to say this because how did Howland not tell the truth of this story? Did Ned tell him, listen, I'm gonna tell people I beat his ass. You don't say what really happened. I mean, it had to, right?
Yeah, Mira
had to go along with it. How come Howland didn't come up with the story? I defeated Sir Arthur Dayne one-on-one in combat. How come he didn't get that? How come it had to be Ned who did it? So Ned had to tell him, "Hey, don't go around saying the truth. Let everybody." Because there was only 2 people who survived this fight. And it spread throughout the kingdom. So someone had to spread this story.
I wonder if Mira and Jojen knew the truth. And when they first met Bran, they're like, my dad killed Sir Arthur Dayne, not your dad. Or there was some moment like that where he was entering his mind. But you wonder how this story went around Greywater Watch. Did everyone around there think an opposite story? Because they're out there, they don't interact with a lot of people. So was Howland allowed to tell his people that he killed him? Like, did they sit down and discuss this? And to go to Ned Stark's honorableness in not being participate in any deception after this situation, this whole thing, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I mentioned this earlier. This whole situation, he had to do some planning. In the moment where he goes up, after this moment, Lyanna finds out everything about Lyanna. That Lyanna, this is Rhaegar Targaryen or whatever it is, Aegon Targaryen, Jon Snow. Then he needs to sit down and think of a scheme. He needs to think of a lie. I need to get a whore. I need to pretend that I had a baby with her. I need to tell Robert that, plant that seed into Robert to make him think that it happened, that I committed adultery on my wife I've never met or whatever. No, he had met her. He had sex with her and Rob was already born at that point. So my wife that I met like once or whatever. And then he has to tell Howland Reed, you need to tell everyone I killed him, and then form other deception. So did Howland plan all this after the fact? Did Ned talk about this? Is Ned a little bit more free thinking than we think? Because he had to come up with couple of lies here.
He did. I mean, he could have easily said, listen, I almost died, but I was saved by Sir Howland Reed, who saved my life. Why didn't he say that? Yeah. Why did he have to take credit for it? That he defeated Sir Arthur Dayne. He's the one who took credit. And someone put in the comment section something I was going to say. So I don't know. I can't see what you put, but I was going to say this anyway. But, and if you watch back, you'll see how I did bring this up before. But Ned gives Jaime Lannister a whole lot of shit for stabbing the king in the back. But his biggest victory he ever had was someone getting killed by being stabbed in the back. So is that pity on his behalf? He just feels bad. That's why he feels that way. I don't know, but why would he do that?
I have a dumb question just from timing standpoint. This is after that though, right? After the King's Landing situation, then he went to Dorne after that. So in that moment, he's thinking, I'm no better than Jaime Lannister. So in a sense, because after that point, he had already judged and convicted Jaime in that moment. It's interesting that when he sees Jaime again, maybe that explains a little bit more even, or attributes a little bit more information on the reason why he is so cold towards Jaime when he sees him again after that moment, and not having some free thinking about how bad Aerys was, that when you see someone that commits the same thing and reminds you of mistakes of your past, it's even harder to see them again. It's like when you fuck up in a relationship and you have to look at your own personal relationship, you're like, I fucked up and I'm acting like an asshole. Why am I acting like an asshole? Because she should know I'm an asshole, or because you feel bad about it. And I think that even attributes more why Ned might not think straight about the Lannisters, because there's a lot of guilt and weird feelings about that. And it narrows his perspective a little bit. So, I mean, is Ned just a big dummy? Or I don't know. It's hard because the young man again had to come up with some forthright information to think about. I can't tell Robert about this kid because Robert's going to kill him. That takes some devious thoughts a little bit of how to plan all this. It's not just about protecting kids with Ned. It's also about protecting his reputation of being an honorable man. And that's why he doesn't spread that, because that becomes his crutch in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it goes both ways, you know. So we have watched a lot of clips of this dude straight up. You know what I mean? Get this dude this hush out of here. This guy's just trolling people. Get him out of here. Who's my mods in here? Get him out. Get him out. Can't deal with that. Anyway, besides that, Phil, we have dealt with a bunch of clips of Ned Stark. And the question is Ned Stark a truly honorable person? From what we have seen from these clips and what we know about him in the show, is Ned Stark truly the man of honor that we think he is?
And okay, my perspective about that, and I think it's been kind of echoing over and over again, is I think Ned is almost too honorable. Is he the honorable man we think he is? Yes, but I think in the way that George is such an interesting writer in the way he depicts these characters, he makes sure you know that honorable doesn't mean right. Honorable doesn't mean that you make the right decisions. In fact, just like a cult, or just like someone that's too indoctrined into a certain perspective or certain mindset and can't look at things in a three-dimensional sense or a more critical thinking way, Ned is hamstrung by his honor to a certain extent, and it causes him to have stupid causality loops where he just makes these ridiculous mistakes over and over again and doesn't think about things from a wide-angled lens. I think he's more naive to the game and dumb. Is he the hero that we want to remember him to be from season 1 of Game of Thrones? Or at least some people watch season 1 of Game of Thrones and think of Ned Stark as the hero, or read the first book and think of him as the main character, even though George has said over and over again, there aren't any main characters, there aren't any heroes in here. I think for most of Game of Thrones, at least watching the television show, partially because of casting, partially because of the way it's filmed and put together, Ned is our hero, our main character. Is he as honorable as, I'm talking around the point, is he as honorable as people say he is and all of that? Not always. He's made a couple of questionable choices. Where does his loyalties lie? And I think it does in the way of his rationalization of that honor. But does it always work out? No. So I don't know. It's a hard question, but I would say ultimately he's a man of his word. He sticks to his own personal sense of honor. That's just not what everyone would define it as.
I hear you. I have to say, I don't think he's that honorable. I think he's known as that for whatever reason. But when you look at everything he's done from the beginning of the show to where he was at, I do not see the honor that he's supposed to. This flawless honor. There's no honor in forging the name of forging a document that Robert said that you weren't willing to tell him the truth, but yet you were willing to forge the document and then try to make this as his word. There's no honor in that. There's no honor when your honor was truly tested and your life was put on the line. When your gun to your head, sword to your neck, and your honor was truly tested. you let it down and you made up a lie right then when you should have held your gun. So, and the whole Sir Arthur Dayne situation, making up that whole lie and living that lie, and not just living it, you know, telling your son the story thousands of times. Let me tell you about the time I killed Sir Arthur Dayne, the greatest swordsman. You know, you live that lie. Because Bran says in that clip, I've heard this story 1,000 times. So he's bragging about it over and over and over and over again, every chance he gets. You know, and I can say that's fine. You know, that everyone has that you know, sees things the way they've seen it. But that's when you talk about the honorable Ned Stark, who's not supposed to do those things. I gotta say that this dude is not as honorable as he let on to be. What up to my man Fernandez here? I did see him in there real quick before. Let me make sure I give him a shout out and stuff like that. But I would say no, he's not as honorable as people. It's just as much as they had that play about Ned Stark when Arya was watching and they got things wrong. I think that's exactly the same way. I think that a little bit more accurate of what's going on, you know, about him and stuff, and what's going on to what's going on with Ned Stark. He probably was as dumb as that guy in the play was than what most people think and all that good stuff. You know what I mean? But that is what I have to say. But you know, I have to bounce because I have to have things I have to do. I have to go take pictures at this wedding. That's what I'm doing right now. So I have to get up out of here. I would have loved to go on, Phil. There's much more we could say.
Oh yeah, I know. You and me could have gone on for another 3 hours here.
Maybe we can come back and do another character. You know, maybe we'll do, if Phil comes back, maybe we'll break down Jaime Lannister. We'll show some clips of Jaime Lannister, and we'll go through the whole Jaime arc and see if Jaime lived up to the arc that they set for him. Did he truly live up to that arc or the way they showed it in the show? Everything can be different in the books, but we're dealing with the show from what we've seen of him. Did the arc that Jaime was set on actually become what it was when it was all said and done? Once again, I want to thank Phil, the Issues guy. I want to thank all y'all cats up in the chat, rocking with us all this time. But Phil, thank you again for coming on here, rocking. Let the people know where they can find you.
My pleasure. And if anyone wants to check out more of my stuff, check it out on Phil the Issues Guy here on YouTube. You can also find a podcast, but YouTube's the best place because you get to see me live. Done a couple of streams recently, but I'm on a little bit of a hiatus, but I will be back rocking, talking a lot of silly stuff soon after the first of the year, and a lot more fun stuff coming up. In that first of the year, we got more Orville, more the new Lord of the Rings series that's coming out in 2020 that I'm excited to talk about. Oh, there we go, Bernie. Thank you. But yeah, check out my silly stuff. My co-host Joe Dirty Locks was on the injured reserve list for a while, but he's back in action now, so we can't wait to get back. So yeah, come check it out if you like our brand of silliness. Stick around and please subscribe. And again, huge thanks to Tony for having me. And this was a lot of fun. I'm glad the timing worked out because I fucked up the other evening and Tony had to work tonight. So Tony made special exception to do this afternoon. So I'm glad and thanking everyone in the live motherfucking chat.
I like doing stuff in the afternoon. We get everybody from Great Britain and stuff like that to watch and everything else and all that stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Quick answer to Ninja Kick. Yes.
Ninja Kick. I see you, Ninja Kick. Don't think I don't see you.
Yes,
I do see you. We'll talk about that stuff later, Ninja Kick.
So are we going to review that? Yes. The answer to that question is fucking yes. We're definitely going to be reviewing that.
He knows Ninja Kick knows what I'm talking about. He knows what it is. But as always, if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.